All right, it's time for Freshly Pressed 981, where we'll bring you all the big stories with detailed analysis only here on Smooth 98.1. I'm Victor Pepple.
And I'm Shaka Martins, and for the next half hour, it's all about news analysis because that's what Pressed brings your way every single weekday. Joining us for the rest of for this show, actually, for Wednesday morning, of course, it is Alakunle and DeVoe with the hat. Good morning and good morning. It's good
Devo.
morning, DeVoe.
Morning, Lagos.
Cool.
Cool. ASUU to be or not to be.
Well, there you have it. One of the big stories we're looking at this morning. What the Minister of Labor and Productivity is saying with regards ASUU strikes. Now, you can be part of the conversation simply by sending a message to us on our WhatsApp portal 0809 4440981. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Hello, YouTube. Let's get straight to it. The first story here from what now? The Vanguard newspaper. From the Vanguard newspaper, ASU. I have done what Napoleon couldn't do. Ngige is credited with that information. Now, the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, has said he has done what many cannot do to forestall strikes by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. The Minister of Labor also dismissed insinuations that he is responsible for the ongoing action by the union, and he says his work was only to conciliate and not to implement agreements reached. Devo, when you, went through this story, what crossed your mind?
Well, fortunately, it speaks more about Ngige because, how would I call it? Him, how did they put it? If you don't promote yourself, if others don't promote you, you promote yourself. And he was responding to claims by some quarters that he was responsible for the ongoing strike. As you know, the strike has been protracted for some months now without any abate. And we know ASU literally has been at this for the past 12 years based on an MOU which was signed in about 2 or 3 administrations ago. Now, the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Napoleon Ngige, Senator Chris Ngige, did say that it was not his role to resolve the matter. It was not his role. He was not responsible for it. His role, as according to the Trade Act, was to conciliate parties involved, and that's regarding ASU, that represents the university lecturers, about 48 federal uh, and state universities in the country, and the federal government, which includes the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, and his ministry as well, and the University Commission. Now, he laid claim to the fact that he had done this in other sectors, like the health sector, where he got the doctors paid, which we're yet to hear from the doctors whether that is a true claim. He also got Joe Hesu um, paid, which we still want to hear from Joe Hesu whether that was done or not. He also said that he was instrumental to the 92 billion revitalization and earned allowance fund for the universities, which is yet to be confirmed because I'm not sure that money was paid in full. Um, and he also said that despite the last 9 month strike by ASU, he got the presidency to ensure that they were paid, even though they had the no work, no pay policy instituted. Now, he made some other claims, and my issue is this. You see, it's unfortunate that not just because of Dr. Napoleon Nkike, but when will we have leadership that owns its own responsibility instead of making excuses? Because the truth is, it's on your watch. Yes, he's not the Minister of Education, I agree. But for someone who is in charge of labor and employment, we've had, and I don't even blame him as a person. But the truth is, the office he carries will feel the brunt of the breakdown of the lack of economic administration in the country because literally, practically every sector is at its brinks. So it's obviously going to fall on his table.
The minister also talked about the discrepancy in payment, that the lecturers had talked about UTAS as the means of payment for salaries, but NITDA said it wasn't test compliant. They checked it was vulnerable to risk of hackers and all that.
Vulnerability, yes, it didn't pass all the tests, which, like I said, some of these claims we need a right of response from
But don't
ASU
you
to.
think that ASU also needs to come to a meeting point so that we can have the students get back to the classroom?
Okay, and I'll say this, we don't have enough time, but most of the time, ASU's points are very valid. And, the federal government shoots itself in the foot when you see a country spend and effect 350 billion to the military, in equipment and different things, yes, in the name of security, but spend less than almost 30 billion on the educational sector, and that includes primary, secondary, and tertiary. So it's very hard to come to a meeting point when you obviously are being unfairly treated and undervalued.
All right.
Okay, next story comes in from this day newspaper. Siemens deal electricity supply equipment to begin arriving from Germany in September. We heard from from Kenny and who's the managing director of FGN Power Company, which is a special purpose vehicle that was set up for the purpose of the deal. He stated that by the time the power equipment is installed, there'll be major improvements in the supply of electricity in the country. Now, luckily, I come to you for this story, and let's talk about hope, right? Because we've had many of these headlines wherein with regards to electricity, new deals being made, we're then given as a nation hope that we're going to get improved power supply. Hopes keep being dashed. With that in mind, what do you say about this?
Finally, we can say that it's good news to the ears, that something positive is coming out of this deal that was signed with Siemens in 2019. It's a presidential power initiative, and that's the purpose for which the SPV was set up to see through that, to expand distribution, the generation and distribution capacity of power in Nigeria to 25,000 megawatts. Okay, so what we have in this news is that the equipment for that um, uh, for that to commence will start to arrive in Nigeria from
In
September,
September.
and by December, hopefully, we should have all of that in here. But guess what? All those equipment we would see between September and December will only contribute an additional 2,000 megawatts to our installed capacity of 7,000 we have now. So we'll still have about 16,000 megawatts outstanding, and we would not even be able to see these 2,000 until 18 months from December, when this equipment arrives. But it is a hope that we keep hoping. After all, we've had previous governments spend something in the region of about $20 billion on power, and we haven't seen the benefits of that. And we've had other power stations that have been under construction since before some of us in this room were born. And we're still at it. We can talk about the one in Adamawa. We can talk about the one in, I think, Kogi, another one in Niger. So you see, there are so many of them like that that are out there. And then there's a perennial low water level from Kanji. There's the vandalization of gas pipelines that carry power to the gas power stations and all that. So if we are able to see through this one, if this is in fact the only thing this government will give us before they go out, before their tenure expires, it is something to really, really, really be happy about. That's going to happen in our time. Okay, so on a last note, I just like to say that it is also now then in our hands as people to follow up with this, because here they say that some of those things, that this equipment they're sending here had been built to survive the Nigerian terrain and would last for 30 to 40 years. Okay, so if that is what it is, then can we begin to start planning for the next 41 years after these ones arrive, so that it will not be caught in the same quagmire we were caught in when the ones that were installed in the 20s and the 30s started to give way because of the overload?
All right, now we did hear from Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, who said that it's supposed to provide this 25,000 megawatts before 2025. So we're in 2022 now. 3 years, less than 3 years,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, when you look at it, 3 years is not really long. After all, some of us growing up, everything was about Nigeria was going to become utopia by the year 2000. There was food for all, housing for all, health for all. Everything was tied to year 2000. Year 2000 was 22 years ago, and we're still talking about I will give you light. So let's hope that this will be different.
Are we living in a post-utopian world without actually reaching utopia? Real interesting. But yeah, so we from the Minister of Power, we had heard that the government is on the verge of delivering Mambila project planned at 3,050 megawatts, Kashimbila planned to deliver 40 megawatts, and 40 megawatts Dadinko power plants as well. All hopeful.
All hopeful. The thing is not the power is not the real problem is not about the generation. It's about
It's
the
about
things
the-
before. Okay, so you built the plant. How we talk about low water level, we talk about pipeline vandalization, we talk about the distribution itself of the power that's been generated. They complain also about discos not taking up the power that's been generated because they couldn't pay for it. So the things around it are beyond the generation itself. So generation, maybe it's not the rocket science of it. It seems like the distribution, the buying by the discos, that's what seems to be
Because
like the
if we
rocket
have
science.
8,000 megawatts of operational power generation capacity, but
Yeah.
only 4,500 reaches consumers, there is a problem somewhere.
Exactly.
If we don't address the problem, what are we going to see?
And that's
from
what
this?
this Siemens is supposed to address. Expand the capacity to hold generated power.
People, are you hopeful? Send your messages in. Let's hear from you.
Will we ever get to the point where we have 24-hour power supply in Nigeria? Very
It's not
big
impossible.
question.
Well,
Anyways,
it's $100 billion dollar difference with the transmission network. So
from the This Day newspaper, Nigeria UK holds talks to boost £3.2 billion bilateral trade relations. And as Nigeria and United Kingdom held trade and investment talks at the seventh meeting of the UK Nigeria Economic and Development Forum yesterday in London, the talks focused on how to promote bilateral trade between both countries, which was valued at £3.2 billion in 2021. Now, when the deals are concluded, they could generate over $300 million in foreign direct investment for Nigeria and directly create 5,000 jobs. That's according to the UK High Commission. Devo, is this some exciting news for Nigerians? Should we begin to dance to this one?
well, what I would say is that given the depth of our economic problem in Nigeria, Nigeria should be doing greater trade volumes with every potential trade partner, especially the UK, which we have kept close relationships with. Now, for the fact that we have a bilateral trade commission, part of the article states that in the past they were able to lock down 12 firms that secured funding, that's small scale, medium enterprises. And if the money eventually comes through, it would generate about 300 million pounds for foreign direct investments, which, like they said, will create jobs, etc. And go, this is still potential discussions. Um, the Minister of Trade, Nia Dibayo, was saying that government was committed to these trade reforms, but we really have not seen the full actualization implementation of these reforms. I mean, beyond the money from potential donor nations, um, back home, the major trade platform, which Nigeria, who is literally at the top of the tree, that's the Africa Free Trade Agreement, we've not even done much to bring um, this trade act into proper implementation. And people need to understand that for you to be able to boost trade, you need to boost infrastructure so that you can be productive. We're losing our best brains in practically every sector simply because they're not able to produce and make a good gain at the end of the day. Even when foreign direct investment comes into the country, it doesn't go much far because the necessary infrastructure to put together whatever you are trading with and even the process of transportation and exporting is Herculean. Sorry, that's a big word. It has gone into jaga jaga. So at the end of the day, what happens is that when we have these conferences that we begin to discuss the potential volumes that could come into the country, those on ground will begin to object as to they're not seeing the support of the federal government in actualizing the fulfillment of whatever they're exporting or whatever they're producing. Um, that's even why our import bill is so high, because at the end of the day, most times when we produce raw materials, we can't process them within the country. We end up pushing such materials abroad, both in goods and services, and importing them back at a much higher cost, to the loss of our foreign reserves. So I would really want to see the federal government do more, have more on ground and hands on approach. I mean, just taking a look at Apapa and the gridlock that takes place there, really, how far can we go with foreign trade relations, talk less of even getting our goods across to Africa?
All right, let's look at some of your messages.
Yes, Narachella from Ugudu saying this same Siemens deal that Apicari went to Germany for how many years now, and they're yet to start anything. Well, the PPI was formed in August 2018, so that's how many years it's been. And Mecca from Aja saying ASUU is another fuel subsidy. Nigeria's universities have not designed ordinary mosquito net types to be patented. ASUU is moribund and needs a total overhaul. You need money to overhaul.
Kasim is also here with a message. Says the way government officials exempt themselves from why results are not achieved seems like how do we seems like we're in kindergarten. Rephrasing for him, says uncle, it's not me, oh, it's him, it's her, and somebody's aspiring to become president. Is this how he will shift post? I hope Nigeria is listening.
Ozzy comes in with this one. I'm sorry, this power solution story is a political abracadabra. It's very convenient that this is coming up just as the election comes around. The government must think we're blind. I mean, people were kidnapped a month ago. A victim gives birth, and they are all still campaigning like nothing happened. Nah, says Ozzy. My PVC is waiting.
And we have this other one from Zen. Zen comes in with this one. UK, British bilateral trade, never trust them. They're only into their own self preservation. We seem to be assured to the very same group who sat at the British conference, dividing us and indirectly da, da, da. We need to take heed from history and work with others to grow our own solution. The UK has such teething problem at the moment, and every move they make is to suck the life out of others. It's all right. I need to stop this message here.
Okay. Vanguard newspaper now. $418 million Paris Club debt deductions. 36 governors take Buhari, Attorney General, DMO, and others to court, Federal High Court in Abuja. And let's face it, luckily, this is not exactly the first time they've taken the federal government to court. We saw that the case was uh, dismissed before they took it to the appeals courts, and now we're back at this. The governors prayed the court to restrain the respondents from proceeding with its judgment that was delivered on March 25th, pending the hearing and determination of the appeal at the appellate courts. Your thoughts?
First thought about this is that on a lighter note, that you see that it's money that bring our politicians together to become friends. It's also money that divides them, that makes them enemies. Now, the 36 governors are from three different political parties. Now, they are friends fighting the federal government, which is from one of the three political parties. And members of those political of the political party of the FG are part of the governors forum doing this. That's on the lighter note. Now, a little bit of background to this is that the money in contention is actually not the fund, the Paris fund, it's the fund itself. It's the money due to be paid to the consultants who help. So, how did consultants come into the matter? At the time when there was a time we had this debt forgiveness thing in I think 2004, 2005 or thereabout. Okay, when the Paris Club wrote off 60% of Nigeria's debt as at that time.
That we were very basically not able to pay off.
Exactly. So when they wrote off the 60% of the debt, So the thing that happened then was that the government had the federal government had over deducted from the debts of some of in servicing the debts of some of the states. So they agreed to pay them back the money in three tranches. They paid two. Okay, so the consultants came in were the ones who did all the work in applying to the Paris Club, what to forgive, how to go about it, da 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 da. So their bill at the end of the day was $418 million. There was a different matter attacking the Attorney General at one time, that there was no how the consultant's fee should have been that high. Okay, so I think that maybe they've settled down on, and now the issue now is that consultants are demanding for payment. Federal government is now saying, look, if the states are not going to pay, I'll be deducting it from the federation account up from before we share. So that's why they're in court now, that the federal government cannot take the money from the federation account without their consent, because of course they now dragged in the local government along. The state governors dragged our local governments along to say, look, we are also a party to the sharing of the money federal and the federal government allocation account. Why should the federal government take the unilateral decision to do that? So that's what is in contention. It is the how to pay the consultants' fees. And this is one of the problems that it's highlighted every time people do business with government, particularly in our clients. You do business with government, whatever it is that you have charged, whether fair or unfair, that both parties have agreed to, and when it is time to pay, these are the kind of things we see. Now, this is about the third or fourth case on this matter. I think there was a time the governors went, the court dismissed, they went back, they got a judgment, the federal government went, and so this is about the fourth one on the matter, and this is how it's going to go on. The matter of whether the fee is high or low or fair or unfair is a different conversation. But if you signed to it that this is what it is, I think the state governors and the local government that are being dragged along unknowingly with who are not participating in all of this should come to a table, whether you are going to beg, appeal, whatever, get this thing sorted between themselves and let us move on to other things that are more important. Even the debts that we've been forgiving, we've taken other ones after them, and we're already in another deep hole of debts already. And we're still talking about the one that's been forgiven, about paying fees that's due to some consultants on it. So I think that they should just
All right.
Close this as quick as possible. Yes.
Well, as they have said that they weren't party to any contracts or suits concerning the Paris Club refund from which those debts arose. That is their line, and that's what they're sticking with. Okay, let's move on now.
In from the Guardian newspaper, Lagos allays fear over flooding in Ilubiri and environs. Devil, this has been a persistent issue year in and out. What is the government doing so we have a concrete solution to issues around flooding in Lagos?
$1 billion question. Well, the Lagos State government, through the commissioner, that Tunji Bello, was reassuring residents of the Ilubiri Idumagbo of the incessant floods. Obviously, you know that side has been ravished with a lot of houses underwater anytime it rains. It said the state government had put in some measures by buying some mega heavy pumps to be able to push water out, while some of the residents were still protesting that the embankment, which hitherto prevented uh, heavy streams from coming through, was removed. But the commissioner said that the state was looking at a permanent solution because these were issues relating to climate change, and that Lagos State was one of the low-lying cities that face the same challenges. Well, the $1 billion question is, I mean, pending when the government can install a permanent solution. I know housing for low-income residents is a challenge, but literally, you're going to have to move upland or into the highland because we just never know the day, the time, and when the heavenlies will cough and that water will literally overrun those homes and houses, and then we'll have a human, what do they call it? A human, humanity, humanitarian disaster on ground. Because if you know where Ilubiri and Idumamo is, it's right on top of water. And I'm afraid for those people. So what the commissioner said is not enough, but I know their fears that where would they go, who will pay for them, but you literally need to move upland. Lagos State does not end with Ikeja and Okoko Michael. Lagos State extends all the way up until the borders when you're entering Oyo Ibadan and Co. People need to move, or else someday, somehow, you might join the fish in moving around the water.
Messages then on YouTube. Joseph Olopinkua says, "What I see in this ASUU matter is just Nigeria's anyhowness. We enjoy the situation, it seems. Siemens equipment, on that, I'm not optimistic. Let us deal with issues that caused waste over the years." Via WhatsApp, Tayo from Aja has sent in a message.
It says, imagine spending all that money to buy land in Ilubirin and flooding is your problem. This is looking like a Ponzi.
Okay, and for one more story?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's do this. So very quickly, Alakane, I'm coming to you on this one from the Punch newspaper on oil production. Nigeria leads Q1 shortfall and the World Bank cites sabotage. Can you give us a brief rundown?
Well, this shouldn't be big news to us with what we hear every day about the industry. Pipeline vandalization, illegal bunkering here and there. Just last week, 200 people died at the site where this bunkering was happening. So it shouldn't be news to us as Nigerians that this is happening. Meanwhile, this is our main source of income. So, and also, while this is happening to us here, the same report is saying that there's an increase in world production, while our own production of we're supposed to do 2.1 million barrels a day is reducing. This has reduced by 500,000 barrels now. The rest of the world, somewhere it has increased. Okay, so those are the things that we need to do, the right things. Okay, so if we want to make more money at this time, this is the first time in about 5 years that the price of crude has crossed the $100 mark. If we want to make money, we must do everything possible to get to at least near the 2.1. If we can't get there, what do we need to do? Secure our pipelines, do the right things.
Now, hold on. Luckily, I just want to throw something in, which is that so we heard from the chairman of Transnational Corporation and Heirs Holding, Tony Elumelu, who said that actually that the security situation has improved. He said the federal government responded very aggressively. I'm going to quote him now. "You are aware the Chief of Defense Staff, the Group Managing Director, and the Minister of State for Petroleum all moved to Port Harcourt, and ever since then, I know for a fact that things have improved and the oil theft has reduced."
Just last week. Today is Wednesday. It was on Friday or Saturday. 200 people died at the site in Imo where they were doing illegal bunkering. So how does that happen?
And that's even the short end of the stick.
Exactly.
What about the theft from the terminals
itself,
and the oil tankers?
The oil tankers. So all of these things are still there. They are so visible. They are visible that all of us see it. So all these kind of rhetorics are the things that were being said just for just to assuage our fears or our concerns.
All right, gentlemen, we need to go now. We must thank you very much for being a part of the conversation today. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. You can find Devo at Devo Okorie and at Lakunle70. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the show. Follow us at Smooth981 FM on Twitter. Good morning.
You first. First bang.
What did it say? Tony Lumen said it's improved.
Oh no, I saw it in another article. But you know, because he and other
before they said something to criticize government.
They gave him a call.
Exactly, because I said something before to criticize government. So he's now saying this to balance the first one.
YouTube, can you hear that?
The one he said that time when people rushed him that she is the chairman of
Yes,
Transcorp.
Just to let you know.
And they said that he was the chairman of Transcorp. So why don't we have light? Is this? Because they are criticizing him for saying that, you know, that thing he said about his colleagues in the office and talking about no power. That was the beginning of all of this. And so maybe they told the guys, my friend, mind yourself. That's why he's now saying this one.
That's where we come in with